Welcome back. Thank you for joining us on the RP Experience. I'm your host, Andrew Regenhard, and today we have Bryan Brax, which is a top producing agent here within Naples. So, Bryan, welcome. Excited to have you on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Bryan is actually a realtor with Downing Fry Realty. He's a top producing agent here in Naples, and he was born in Lebanon and spent 7 years of his childhood in New York. For him, Naples is home now. Bryan moved to Southwest Florida with his family at age 12. He's been in real estate and he's known to be a straight shooter. He values transparency, ethics, and trust, and his main focus is his client's interest. So we're talking a lot about relationships today. So we're excited. Without further ado, give the listeners a little bit of an update on who you are.
Yeah, so I mean, you pretty much touched base with the origin story, right? Where I was born and kind of the pilgrimage, right? Everyone seems to make their way to Naples or just Florida in general.
It's a melting pot.
Yes. It's becoming a melting pot, I feel like, for sure. I mean, before you kind of like, you met many people that were local, like Naples born, and now you're meeting a lot of people from different parts of the country that are starting to make their way here, right? And even internationally, for sure. So yeah, by the way, I think what you're doing with the podcast is great. You know, I told you this before on the side, but when I watch some of these podcasts, and I really do get inspired by some of the realtor stories, because no matter how long I've been doing real estate for, however I feel like I'm doing, there's always more to learn and things you can pick up, right? So it's definitely,
if you're not
inspiring.
learning, you're gonna fall behind, right?
Yeah,
if you're
exactly.
not always learning.
So went through school here in Naples, graduated at FGCU, business marketing. Throughout my schooling from, I'd say, high school, I was in the exotic car industry locally here. So, Naples Motorsports, Gulf Coast Motor Works, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, McLaren, stuff like that. So after high school, I used to go and wash cars, like from 2 o'clock till 6 o'clock, right? Wouldn't miss a beat. But I loved the cars, and I didn't care what I was doing, but I just wanted to be around them. And as I worked my way through the business and graduating high school and going to college, it was like I thought that was going to be my final, like I was going to college just to get the degree, but at that point it was like I wasn't planning on
Switching gears,
right? It was like I really liked it. I loved my clients. That was a big thing too, is like meeting some of the people I met in the exotic car industry. It was like it was really a blessing, because you meet some really awesome people and people from all walks of lives. And I was shocked how they bring you into their lives, like how much they trust you, right? And going through college, working in that exotic car industry, I worked my way up, from whether through detailing to management to the back end, like wherever I could, right? And opportunities go into the sales side of it, and I just got to a point where I felt like I could do more with the position I was with all the relationships I had made, and I wanted to walk in and buy the exotic car. I was so surrounded by that lifestyle. I mean, you got to think, I grew up watching WWE, right? John Cena.
Yeah.
And then it's like, here I am at that time when I started working with him at the dealership, like taking care of his cars. I was, at that time, I was about 19 or so. Yeah. Until I was about 23. So in that period of time, like to interact and have relationships with people I looked up to that were like my idols growing up, it was pretty surreal. So just seeing the lifestyles that were around me, brushing shoulders with like ex-CEOs of Procter and Gamble's and Chiquita Bananas and Bank of America's and all that kind of stuff really got my mind starting to like, spin. And all my friends around, like some of my friends around me that were doing really well, were young and really hustling. were doing real estate.
Right.
David Gruninger, Chris Lecca, right, to name a couple.
Right.
And I would meet, other successful realtors that would come into the dealership that had cars for themselves, like cool stuff. And I was like,
what's this all about?
Yeah. I'm like, all right, so if they can do it, like, I got to be able to do it, because I have a killer work ethic. I know quite a bit of people, and what I have to lose. At that time, I was 24 or 5, and I said, what's the worst that could happen?
Right. You can always go back to selling cars.
You can always go back to cars, figure it out.
And you did a little bit. I remember your journey, because I knew you before you got into before you made the full switch.
Yeah.
Which kudos, man. Like, obviously I haven't been here long, so to know you before and now you being featured within Real Producers, like, people work 10 years to get to that volume, so huge kudos. But I do remember, like, you were in a transition period, and I think this is great for a lot of listeners out there that are looking at getting in real estate. You don't have to make the full switch right away. And I know a lot of legends in real estate say don't make the full switch, because there might be a long time before your first, kind of check, right? Yeah. So you were still selling cars and, quote unquote, real estate on the side, right?
Yeah. So when I got out of the car industry, it's kind of interesting. So I left the car industry and I said, I'm going to take a year to just figure it out. Whatever I want to do, like, I just need a break, because I was at that point working like 60 hours a week. I just graduated college and just needed a break, right? And just wanted to kind of retrain, like, reset my mind, figure out my goals. So when I had left, one of my clients at that time, he's one of the largest flooring franchises in the country, if not the. He came to me and said, "Hey, I really like you, and I really want to keep you around and have you, like, help me with my cars." He has a huge collection of cars locally, and he said, "Why don't you come work for me in the flooring company?" I'm like, "Really?" Like, I really appreciate that, and this is a man of very high stature, so I was very, like, fortunate for him to offer me that position. But at first, I didn't understand it, because I was like, "What do you mean flooring?" Like, "Oh, you come sell floors, whatever, carpet, hardwood, tile." He said, "Trust me, it's not, it's not sexy. It's not exotic cars, whatever, but there's good money in it, and work less hours, whatever." I gave it a shot, and I quickly realized, although I did very well in it, and most people would have been totally content staying there, to me, it wasn't like, I was like, this isn't what I'm cut out for. Yeah, I had no driving factor. Like, I'd go in there and I would sell and do really well, but it was just not enjoyable to me. So I'm like, what else can I do that's, like, sexy, kind of like real, like, exotic, like, cars, fun and stuff like that, but that I have no ceiling in terms of, like, what I can make, because it's all up to me, right? And that's when real estate came to my mind, and then all the guys around me and stuff. So
So when you transitioned, a lot of people are going to say, well, like, why did Bryan go from 0 to hero, right? Or 0 to 20 plus million last year, right? I would say, and tell me if I'm wrong, but it's a lot of the relationships you built prior, right? Like, I mean, is that a testament to you, or is that a true statement, you think, or why did you become so successful so quick?
100%. So, like, I tell people all the time, when they see me doing what I'm doing, don't look at me and think that it's as easy or that it can happen that quick, because although I haven't been in real estate for as long as maybe others that are doing the business that I'm doing, I look at it like the last 8 years of my life were spent just cultivating those clients, network, leads, right? Because, for example, last year I sold a house to a client that was a client through the exotic car industry. They referred me, one of their close friends sold them a house, and then those people referred me clients that bought 2 homes from me. So in just like from one client in the industry, I got 4 deals out of it in that 1 year, but it was all trust. I mean, the other people literally took their word that, hey, like, he comes well referred from so-and-so, and, that trust was there.
I think too, you have to have trust if you're dealing with their $500,000 cars.
100%. I mean,
Like,
at that point, you've got their garage codes, you've got their sometimes alarm system, stuff when you need to go in the house. Like, it's not even a thought of like, what if they 100% at that point trust you. I was 18, 19 years old driving these exotic cars home. Like, I'd have clients that, I think I told you before. I mean, I had a client that I was 19. He gave me his Lamborghini for like 2-3 months and said, hey, I'm having work done at my house. I can't have this in the garage. Take it, drive it, enjoy it. I'll be in California when the work is done. Like, I'll come back and just bring back the car then. So it was like, who does that, right?
Naples. Only in Naples.
Yeah, exactly. But back to your point, yes, the driving force for this business definitely came from the exotic car world. I mean, just in 2 weeks, I'm closing on a house for a client that I met through the exotic car industry, again, like 8 years ago or so. And I never thought like I'd sell this guy a house. We kept in contact over the years, and just so happened to be like he reached out to me. He saw me out there like, doing it, and he's one day just sent me like, a couple homes, and went back and forth, found him a house, and we're closing in a couple weeks. And I still can't believe like this was someone I met that long ago. And
I'm no tax expert, so don't take legal advice, but I'm going to say anything that involves with cars. So all your exotic cars, I think is probably a marketing write-off at this point, right? Like, I mean, it's, hey, people use all different ways to network, right?
Yeah.
I remember Blaze was on here and he said, join the Range Rover Club because you got a lot of clients, or people do boating, or, cars is huge. I know Greninger's kind of the same way.
Yep.
He's built a lot of relationships through the car industry. So it's, I think it's one of the things too people lack is they need to find what motivates them or what they're passionate about. Right? You keep saying it wasn't, exciting, past things weren't exciting or sexy or anything like that. And so you need to find those things. And then, you just got to be truthful and honest with those people. And if you do, success will follow, right?
Yeah.
Because you're doing the right thing to the people, right?
Yep. So when back 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago now, it's crazy how fast time is flying. I had the opportunity to purchase that McLaren that I had, right? And at first I was like, couldn't really believe that I was at a point that I could do it, even though I could. But it's surreal going from starting when that car had first come out and driving it from a employee standpoint, right? Or driving my client's car to owning it. But part of owning it was to be able to use it towards marketing and networking. So it wasn't, to be flashy or to boast that I had it. It was, I loved cars, number one, right? And number two, it allowed me to get into these how would you say,
networks.
These networks, these exclusive networks of people. And my whole thing with the McLaren was how I can get into these events, do these as now an owner, and not just the person that works for the company, right?
And you're not like a salesy then either. You're like you're passionate. Your owner status is a lot different than kind of commission salesy kind of thing.
Exactly. And definitely paid off because doing those events, met some people.
Yeah. And the thing is that they respect you too, right? Like you're out enjoying a passion. They have a passion. I think a lot of people miss that. If you're passionate about cars, they're passionate. You're finding like similarity things. In any sales, what's the first thing you do? Build rapport.
Exactly.
Right. Like so,
some
that's what
form
you're
of
doing.
Icebreaker.
Yeah.
Some sort. I meant to say that too. Is that I think the reason why so many clients in that exotic car industry really took like a liking to me and others too that work in the industry, they kind of treat you like family, because in many other parts of the country, you can't drive these types of cars or have these types of things without being, scolded or like looked down upon. And in Naples, it's different, right? So it's like, they love to be able to share, you know, even though they're material items, like you said, it's like a passion kind of like, sure, it's material, but at the same time, it's like, if you're a car guy, like that's the epitome of like for cars, right?
Yeah.
Like where you can get. So a lot of these people, I mean, they weren't born with a silver spoon in their mouth,
Right.
or were given these cars. So to them, they're like trophies. So
Yeah.
that's why too, like I picked up a real passion for watches,
Yeah.
luxury watches, because when I was in the industry, I'd meet these people that would have just insane watches that I would only dream of, like seeing in person or being able to hold or try on.
Yeah.
And being able to talk to them and like, you know, oh, it's nice, you know, 5711 Nautilus or whatever, you know, it is. And they'd say, oh, you know about this. And yeah, and they actually like when you compliment them on something they have without like a salesy type, but just like out of genuine like excitement for it.
Right. And a lot of that goes back to is finding what you like. I can't stress enough, but finding what you're passionate to, because you are passionate about watches. I know you personally, that like watches are a big thing for you. And it's not saying like, I'm not telling everyone out there to like go buy every single thing or whatnot, but you can have the knowledge, right? You can have the wherewithal to be able to have a conversation about it. You know, everyone's at different stages of their lives to buy cars or buy watches or buy whatever, right? Those are all materialistic. Again, they should all look out for themselves and their best interests, but it doesn't mean you can't have the knowledge. Like you could be rocking, I mean, I have a watch on today, but like 90% of the time I'm rocking an Apple Watch. It's, you know, it's the most functional thing I've ever had, right? And I love watches, you know, personally, Bryan, because of aviation, but that's my passion, right? And a lot of people need to find that passion rather than trying to fit in. So I think they need to find what's passionate for them first. And then their business, their lives, their sphere, people, friends will kind of form around that. But I do feel like a lot of people try to fit in, right? Like, you know, they're trying to fit a mold and they think that's correct.
It has to be genuine. It has to be genuine.
Because guess what? The people that are the most successful will sniff it out in a heartbeat.
100%.
Oh my gosh. So obviously you had success in a short amount of time, you know, and, you know, people are going to ask like, how'd you do it? Or, you know, it must've been easy. You know, they're going to ask, and you're going to probably say the same thing we talked about, which was all about relationships. So like, what are some tips for a new agent in building those long, meaningful relationships with a client?
I definitely say, besides the whole networking thing, because that's obviously number one important thing, is like you have to go in with some form of network so you can know like who your target market's going to be and who you're going to sell to or work with. But besides that, really, it's down to trust and making people feel comfortable in your service, that you're looking out for their best interest. I can't tell you enough times how many deals I've not gotten because I've advised my clients against purchasing a home all the time. I mean, it might be in a better interest for me to sell them the home because I make a commission off of it, right? But I'm not looking at it for the commission. I'm looking at it for the long-term relationship, right? And if for any reason, like, I don't feel comfortable with that home for my client, I'm going to let them know, and I'm going to, you know, advise them as best as I can.
Because of that is why you got the 3 other deals, right? Because one person, you did that, right? You pour into them, you do what's best for them. They referred it to someone else, which referred it to someone else. So if you would have got the commission on the first one, right, or quote unquote push them to close on a house that's not good for them, they're going to discover it, right? It's their biggest purchase of you know, most people's lives. Well, you're then not going to get the other 3 referrals, right? So you just cut yourself out of how much more commission. Wait a little bit, find the right thing for them, and it will reward yourself or reward tenfold, right?
Definitely don't sweep anything under the rug. I mean, I'm like some of these builders and like people's worst nightmare when it comes to like the final walkthroughs and type stuff. I'll go in there with 2 rolls of tape and just call it out, and not worried about it killing the deal, but making sure that the house is as perfect as possible for my client, right? So.
All right, I got to ask, because you do look up to people. So who inspires you?
That's kind of like, that's a trick question, because I feel like there's 2 answers to that, in the sense of, first off, I'd say definitely my clients. And not to sound like cringy about that, but that it's true, because I feel like when I meet people and I see what they have and their road to success, it inspires me to see how they did it, and just maybe if there's one thing I can learn from them that I can put towards my life or my business,
Right.
you know, that could accelerate me. I've told you some of the clients I've had, and definitely like inspired, especially when you work with them from a real estate transaction, like
How they handle things.
how they look at what is a good deal, what is not, like their process of purchasing a home. Everyone's different.
Their perspective has got to be a lot different than
100%.
like most people.
I've had people like
those extra couple $100,000. Well, don't worry about that. You know,
you have people like that literally blank checkbook type, right? And you try your best to still get them as good of a deal as you can. But they're not too worried about the nitty gritty. And then you have others that could buy the house 10 times over, but we might be on the negotiation table negotiating like splitting $2,500. Right. But it's all calculated,
right.
You know, the fees, structures, and comparables and all that kind of stuff. So that's one point. I think the second inspiration I have would be, and this is kind of funny, but I grew up watching like the $1 Million Listing stuff, and you know, the Josh Altmans and Ryan Serhants and stuff like that. And I know, you know, there's a lot that's done out there for like the camera
behind
and
the scenes,
entertainment. But I did read Josh's book and Ryan's book, and it is kind of inspiring to see, you know, like Josh starting from the mailroom in LA and becoming like one of the largest brokers, real estate brokers in all of California and Los Angeles. And I like his swag, his like demeanor, you know, he comes off a little bit over the top, but he's a bulldog, and that's how I want to be for my clients. You know, and I do love that type of real estate. To me, that's like that luxury, like LA modern is what gets me going. Like,
hey, that's the sexy part of it, the fun part, right? That's what you enjoy. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, he's crushing it. So, I mean,
doing something right.
He's doing something right. I love it. Ryan,
Bravo TV.
shout out
Bravo TV.
Shout out Bravo TV. You guys want to sponsor?
$1 Million Listing Naples.
Right? Hey, coming soon. Brian, unfortunately, we are out of time here. I really appreciate you coming on this podcast, sharing some wisdom with the people. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. As always, RP Experience is extremely thrilled to have you on here. We're here at Adventure X at the podcast studio. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next episode. See you guys.